What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another one of Tyler's tech tutorials. Today we're going to dive into the fascinating world of Linux. Yeah, the Linux distribution that really came to the tech community. Actually, it's been around since the 60s when we talked about the sockets tutorial and we programmed that client server with Python. That was the Unix Berkeley socket, the USB, or the UBS, Unix Berkeley. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. Anyways, Unix has been around for a long time. 1970s, 60s, 70s. Was first created by I think the Bell Communications, and then Linus Torvald, whatever his name is, actually reinvented Linux in the early 90s, and it's just kind of exploded for the last 20-30 years. All the cell phone devices like smartphones and your Internet of Things devices that are connected directly to the internet, those are all running Linux embedded in the source code. So Linux is really kind of starting to climb up to the top, and Microsoft licensing is so expensive that it's getting Linux is just on the rise because I can download a Linux distribution for free. I don't have to pay anything for licensing. Yeah, it's going to kind of stink having to use some of their open source software for, office productivity. Like, you don't have Microsoft Word. You can't put Word on Linux. I mean, you can, but it's a pain. They come with their own open source office tools, which it's definitely worth getting the Microsoft licensing, to be honest with you. But Linux is used for a number of things, and privacy is a big one. Security is this information security profession. Linux is used a lot. We use it for a number of things like penetration testing. Privacy is a big concern. It doesn't come with the tracking bugs that a out-of-the-box factory Windows 10 PC or laptop comes with. You can customize the kernel, and you can collaborate with other professionals on various distributions like Ubuntu or CentOS. That's a free version of Red Hat. So today I actually have Kali Linux fired up. This is a penetration testing tool used only for educational purposes, and I'm going to show you how to easily exploit a server with said Linux box. So it's actually more of a game, but it's also designed to be it's supposed to teach you more about Linux. It's a very basic walkthrough. Actually, no, there is no walkthrough. You have to figure it out on your own. You have to use the Linux commands and exploit what little information you have before you. So it is a perfect example of a real-world scenario where you're trying to access a Linux device, whether it be a smartphone or web server or somebody's camera in their house. I'm just kidding, not really. Sort of. Anyway, so I'm not going to read you the level. Leviathan is a war game that has been rescued by the demise of the intruder.net, blah, 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 blah. All I need is the username and password and how I can remote into the server. That information is accessible to anyone. I can get that. All right, so here's the scary thing. Whenever you buy something like let's say a doorbell or anything for your smart home, the majority of the time it's set up with default configurations. So it's always a good idea to go in there and manually change those default settings, so people like me can't get in. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't really do that. That's not really my thing. Never would be. But anyways, you get the point. You always want to read the instructions and make sure that the password isn't password or admin. You always want to make sure that those are changed so nobody can, there is a team of security professionals that do nothing but that. They go and they test, or they go into smart homes and they test vulnerable devices that have been easily exploited. So this is kind of a perfect scenario. So let's SSH into Leviathan. That's going to be 0. Leviathan.labs.overthewire.org. And it's going to be port 2223. And the password is going to be Leviathan 0. That information is already given to me. So what next? Data for the levels can be found in home directories. You can look at blah, blah, blah. So let's look at that directory and see if there's anything in there. And there's nothing in there. So let's look at the contents of this current directory. And let's look at all hidden files, and look at that. There is a directory called .backup. So let's cd into that backup file, and look at that. Oh, there is an HTML file in there. Very cool. This could be instructions on how to set up your camera system that you're going to mount on the front of your house. I'm just kidding. So looks like just the basic HTML file. Now I could look at the contents of this file, but it's going to be way too long. So we're going to pipe so we can only see half at a time. So somewhere in here is the password to the next level. Hopefully I still have everyone's attention. Alright, I'm not going to do that. I want to easily, I don't have to read all through that. No, if it's a basic web page, I could just, view page source, and I could control F, and I could find, what is it, like, let's say I want a password. Yeah, so I can't do that because I am in the terminal. I am on the server, and you can't just click. I don't have the ability to drag my mouse and double click, and this is why it's a good idea to know how to navigate through a file explorer and look at the contents of your directory, like whether it's pictures, documents. You want to be familiar with how you can navigate back and forth. I could do the same thing with the Windows command prompt or PowerShell by double clicking, and let's say I want to, I don't like the DOS command prompts are kind of just like blah, but let's say I want to go to downloads, and there's all the download files. Same concept, only different commands. The DOS is kind of based on Linux, sort of, but it's two separate operating systems. But written, I'm getting off subject. Alright, so I want to do the same thing, but this time I want to grep. I want to search for that specific password. And there it is. It spits it right out. Let's see if that's the one that is going to get me to the next level. And sometimes it's almost that easy, unfortunately. Let's get out of evil limiter. isn't the right password. Okay. Okay, so I know I already have this written down someplace because I've already been into this level. There we go. Alright, so I am now on level 1. So we've already made it past the front door. So let's see what's in this directory, and looks like there is a program called check, or a file called check. It's most likely compiled in C. If I were to actually try to open that file, yeah, I'm not going to be able to read it. It's already been compiled. So it's the same thing as doing a program in C and compiling it. So that's not going to work by running it. We can try to run it. So this is kind of like a example of a buffer overflow. So we want to trace and it's either going to be this or this. Sex. Oh, sorry, that's the second level. So remember what the instructions said. You can look at so let's go to there it is. So some of these are very basic. So let's see if that is the right password. That is it. This is another program compiled in C. So this one might be a little trickier. Yeah, we might have to wait on this one. So let's wait. I'll trace it. We might have to pick up another day for this. Yeah, so just to kind of demonstrate, just to kind of show you that, so a lot of these are written in C, all right, and C is probably one of the earlier one of the oldest programming languages out there. Alright, so good, I already got that. So let's a simple demonstration of a C program. C is kind of fun if you really want to get into coding. It's complex. It's more for scientific programming, but I mean it's something you do need to know. So what I'm doing is declaring integer, and we're going to set that to 0, and we're going to loop through it. So if the integer is less than or equal to last, this is why I kind of like Python better, because it's not as complex, I should say. I don't like how the syntax isn't getting highlighted though. Okay, so we're going to try to compile this program. Actually, let me go back up to the top here. It's always good to and you'll find this embedded on your smart home devices and your cell phones. A lot of the firmware is written in this is written in C. So let's see if we can compile add C. Oh, I'm sorry, add C. What am I apologizing for? I'm crazy. And this, let's see, add. Yeah, and it's gonna say no, this is wrong. Gotta fix it. Oh, yep. I'm crazy. So I can get rid of that. Yeah, less than or equal to. Oh, okay, very good. So it looks like it compiled correctly. So we should now see a right. Alright, yeah. So if we go to add, if we just look at the contents of C program, you'll see the code that we just wrote. Alright, very good. But if we go to look at the executable, you'll say, oh, yep, can't read that. Okay, so you get the point now. Alright, so let's go back to our level here. Alright, so we want to, I don't think I'm going to get through this tonight. Yeah, we're not going to mess around with this tonight. this is cool. This is a fun lab. I'm gonna have to come back through and actually explain some of it more in detail, but yeah, this one is pretty cool. So what we want to do is create a symbolic link. Remember where they said the passwords are normally kept. Yeah, I will have to come back and explain that because that didn't even make sense to me. So looks like that is the password. We'll just make sure it is first. To the third level. And it's something like this, if you're getting into information security or the cybersecurity industry, and if something like this doesn't excite you or if it seems boring, then yeah, you might want to rethink that. It's never easy. This can be very stressful. So I am at level 3. Yeah, this one is a tough one because I do remember this. Now, okay, so I'll be honest with you. I've already beaten this level. When I went back to college, I went through Bandit. That's the first level. Bandit's very simple. It's just ls commands and cat commands and cds and finds and a lot of Google Kung Fu, Google Fu, very basic. The Leviathan is a little more difficult. There are not as many levels. There's multiple different games here. And they're always under development. Krypton is all about cryptology. Some Python scripts that are pretty cool. Like you have to use the Caesar cipher to get to decode the password for one of the levels. The rest of them are very complex. You get into assembly language and scientific programming, buffer overflows, stack exploitation. It's really, I mean, they get pretty intense. So we'll focus on Bandit, Leviathan, and Nataz. Nataz is pretty cool because that's all web app. So that's all websites. So just to kind of, we'll do one level and then that's it. I gotta get to bed because I am tired. Actually, I slept quite a bit today, so I tend to think the best at nighttime, but 1 o'clock is pushing it for me, and I gotta be up super early in a couple hours, so I thought I pasted this in correctly. Alright, this is not pasting. Copy. There it is. Alright, so we're gonna call it a night. So we're gonna exit. We're gonna shut down this machine. Remember how I told you I was gonna squash this lab, or this lab environment? Oh. And just like that, I'm going to do the same thing here. Now this Windows 10 virtual machine I've already broke because it keeps crashing, so I don't know how much longer we'll have left. Oh yeah, it was one from Metasploit, pretty cool. And so yeah, I almost had 5 or 6 VMs running all at once. Metasploitable we'll dive into tomorrow. That's pretty cool. And we will now there is no shutdown command, huh? Let's go to the shell. Very cool. So that was a lot. So we're going to continue going over this, and I'm just going to I'm not going to be a YouTube expert. Yeah, I'm eventually going to do some intense video editing and give you some music and kind of make it look a little more YouTube-y. But this is mainly for documentation purposes. So I need to get some sleep. I have to be up in a couple hours, and it's not good to I should have honestly planned my night better, because I'm going to be absolutely exhausted tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to sleep much tonight anyways. So it's shutting down, and now I'm going to just power off. So we've covered a lot in the last day or two. You can do a lot with VirtualBox. I recommend trying it out. If anybody has any questions, please get a hold of me. I don't have many viewers, and this channel is not designed for a lot of viewers yet, so hopefully this has helped, and have a good night.